Hello, lovelies. Happy Halloween season. Actually, happy Halloween. This is my very last vidcast, Halloween related for 2012. Hope you guys enjoyed the video cast, the blog posts, and that I did throughout the month of October. I plan to do probably something similar for Christmas. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be doing at least something for that. Well, today, since this is a special Halloween vidcast, I am going to be talking about a few different things, a few different recommendations that I have to just make your Halloween just that much more spooky. So, without further ado, I will go on to the first one. This, I don't think I even have to really explain why it's such a gem. The complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. It has pretty much, I think, every story and poem he's ever written, or at least most of them that were known to the public. Of course, it has my favorite poems, which The Raven, of course, Annabel Lee. It also has the Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Telltale Heart. Has all of those, Mask of the Red Death. And it's quite a big book, and I think you can get it at, any bookstore, Amazon, anywhere, basically, anywhere that would sell Edgar Allan Poe, which is most places. So, yes, the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. I did have this first because he's the master, inspired many people, many writers in the horror genre throughout the actually decades, centuries, and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, but yes, this is the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. So that's one thing to pick up and read if you're a reader. So, and this one, it's by an independent author. I actually recently interviewed her for the webzine. Her name is Christine Soltis. I hope I am saying that correctly. I actually met her at an event being put on by a wonderful independent bookstore called LJ's Used Books in Dormont, Pennsylvania. If you're in the Pittsburgh area and you have not checked out LJ's, check it out. Because, you have to support small business, of course, and it just has just a wonderful selection of books, and they carry independent local authors. Christine is one of them. This book, and I will be doing a review on it for the webzine too shortly, or for a vidcast or podcast. I'll be doing a review on this. It's called A Dark Kaleidoscope. It's a collection of short stories, and a lot of them are, I absolutely love them. I absolutely love them. I'll go into more detail when I do the review and everything, but I earlier in my Halloween vidcasts, I actually covered the Scary Stories trilogy, and I would actually call this the Scary Stories trilogy for adults, like for grown-ups, pretty much. And like I said, I'll go into more detail, when I do the review and everything. But yes, this is definitely one to look up, and it's called A Dark Kaleidoscope. Yeah, sorry, I can't talk. Twisted Tales by Christine Soltis. So go check that out. You can get it on Amazon. I think you can even order it through LJ's Used Books. So yes, that's another one to check out. And check out my interview with her at musicsunderworld.com, and you can find out more about a really good independent author. So there was that. And of course, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite pastimes as a kid, Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton, another Tim Burton, I forgot to get the DVD out, but another Tim Burton, old school Tim Burton that I really like, Edward Scissorhands, so, watch those two back to back, Nightmare Before Christmas and Edward Scissorhands, old school Tim Burton, just awesome, and, of course, Danny Elfman does the music. It's like, hello, it's Danny Elfman, it's like, that I don't even think I need to, really go into why, Danny Elfman is awesome, because just listen to his music. He's all kinds of awesomeness, in my opinion, at least. So, but yes, Nightmare Before Christmas and Edward Scissorhands. I let, watch them back to back, get a little bit of old school Tim Burton. And while you're at it, maybe throw in some Beetlejuice, So, yes, those were some other ones. And, of course, one of my all-time favorites, Stanley Kubrick. The Shining. I love the Stephen King book, and I know that there has been a debate throughout, the internet and different, Stephen King forums and, just different areas on the internet. Which is better, the Stanley Kubrick version or the version that they later did, I believe, in, like, the 1990s, which was a made-for-TV movie, which is better, the Stanley Kubrick version or the made-for-TV version. I know Stephen King said he liked the made-for-TV version better because I will say that, yes, it is closer to the book. However, and yeah, even though the Stanley Kubrick version does kind of stray from the book, it's still, it's such a well-done film. And, and just Jack Nicholson is, so creepy as Jack Torrance, and and then of course you have just the whole Stanley Kubrick vibe, the whole just his cinematography, and it just creates such a very, very amazing and creepy atmosphere, and it's just such a messed up movie in a good way. And of course Stanley Kubrick is just a genius. Love Stanley Kubrick, and I actually, and I love his, I love his The Shining. And you know what? I actually like the made-for-TV version one too. Obviously, with made-for-TV movies, you can't quite go as far as you would like to for network television or whatever, but, I still liked it, and I did like that it was, it kind of followed the book, but, but this movie does hold a special place in my heart. I love it. I love Stanley Kubrick, so, yes. So, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson. Awesome, awesome, awesome film. So, if you haven't seen it, you are missing out. So, yes, there's that. And a film by, and, a couple of independent filmmakers, Forbidden Pictures. It's the team, Jimmy O and April Burrell, who brought you the Chainsaw Sally films. The Chainsaw Sally film, as well as the web series that they have going on right now. This film is called The Good Sisters. It is, some people, I've seen some comparisons to The Craft, which is another good film, by the way. I have seen some comparisons of it to The Craft. And I can say, yeah, I can see where they're going with that. But I think what Forbidden Pictures does is, like, they take the whole concept of, the witch hunts and all that stuff, and they put a really, really cool and unique spin on it. This film isn't for everybody. If you are easily offended, I wouldn't recommend watching it. It's, like I said, it's not like, it's not like porno or anything like that, but it does, it does delve into, there is like a tiny little bit of nudity in it and everything. And like I said, if you're easily offended, it's one of those things that I probably, wouldn't watch, but I enjoyed the movie. Because, after being in the entertainment world and all that stuff, it takes a lot to offend me. So yes, this is one, The Good Sisters. Another one I very much recommend and everything. So, yes, check that out. It's by Forbidden Pictures. It stars Debbie Rochon and April Burrell. And, yes, it's definitely, definitely a great movie to watch on Halloween time. So, that's another one. This one is an old film from, I believe, the 70s. The Fun House. It takes actually one of my favorite settings for a horror film or story, which is a carnival or an amusement park, or like a haunted house, a fun house, and everything. And it takes that and comes up with this really twisted little story to go with it. I think when was this made? Oh, it was like 1981. So like very early 80s, which is like when this was made. But but it's basically from the director who brought you the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it is an awesome film. And I very much recommend it, especially if you like, the whole carnival setting like I do. Like that's, to me, I think you can pretty much go anywhere with that. And, I think that, the reason why it's so creepy is it is supposed to be just a place of, fun and being carefree. And, you're supposed to not have, any, like, go there to escape all your problems and your issues and everything from everyday life, and then you find some like big creepy dude lurking in the background, or some like evil voodoo going on in the background, or just something of that nature. It's the Fun House. Definitely check it out if you haven't. That's another one that I recommend. And this one, another book. Anne Rice. It's the first book in the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. And this is going to kind of go with a vidcast I am going to do on the whole 50 Shades phenomenon. I am reading, I'm going to keep this brief because I don't want to ruin people's Halloween by making this all about 50 Shades of Grey. But I am reading the 50 Shades trilogy. It's taking forever. And I am, a pretty fast read. I read a lot, and it's taking me forever to get through the trilogy. And I'm reading it because I'm just so fascinated by how people will latch onto a trend, no matter how good, bad, mediocre it is. If it's a trend, they'll latch onto it. And I initially like never had any intention of reading those books. But then I figured, hey, I can't really make a fair assessment on it unless I try it. So, don't knock it till you try it. So I'm making my way through it slowly but surely, and, getting sidetracked and reading other books, which I'm finishing first and then going back to it. And it's turning out, because I read like little excerpts online on it, and and it turns out when I actually did start reading the book, I really wasn't too far off. And I actually find it kind of disturbing that this is quite the phenomenon that it is. And I will explain why when I do my vidcast on it, or podcast, or, whatever. But this, Anne Rice's The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty, I actually found kind of hilarious when, women, they get the 50 Shades trilogy, they think, I read the 50 Shades trilogy. I see this on websites like Goodreads.com and other book websites. They're like, oh, I read the 50 Shades trilogy, I got all hot and bothered, I'm such a badass, I'm going to try to read other erotic literature, BDSM, related stuff, and the funny thing is that they get all offended. They're, they can't handle it. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this was published. And, and meanwhile, and I'll cover all that when I do the vidcast, but Anne Rice, The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty. It's the very first in the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. I would recommend this anytime over the 50 Shades trilogy. And once again, I will explain why when I do the vidcast. But it's basically, it's obviously, it's erotic literature. And of course, Anne Rice really doesn't hold anything back in these books or anything. And once again, like I said, if you're easily offended, I wouldn't recommend, reading this or anything. But, if you want, a good read that's, erotic in nature and, doesn't really hold much back, and, check out, Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty series. This is the first book, The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty. And yes, that's another one to check out. This one, anyone who knows me knows how much I love Halloween series. I love John Carpenter. I actually didn't even mind the Rob Zombie Halloween ones. They weren't as god awful as, people were saying. I of course still prefer John Carpenter's over the Rob Zombie remake, but that's not what I'm getting into. I'm getting into Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which is the redheaded stepchild of the Halloween series. When I always hear people, or see people online, dissing this movie. It has nothing to do with Michael Myers. Well, when John Carpenter, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I heard and read from several different sources. When John Carpenter was first coming up with the whole, basis of the Halloween series, there was actually not even supposed to be a Halloween 2. It was actually supposed to end, the original one with Michael Myers was actually just supposed to end at the first Halloween. And there was actually, the Halloween series was going to be like a series of films based around the Halloween holiday. A series of films that would come out every Halloween, and each would be a different story, completely unrelated to the other. Well, John Carpenter, he did write, got the sequel for Halloween 2, I think, because of the, I'm thinking it was because of the studios, because, of course, because of the success of the first one. But I'm thinking after he did that, and, Michael Myers was, killed in Halloween 2 at the end. Sorry, spoiler if you haven't seen it yet, but but he keeps coming back, so I don't think it really matters. But he wanted to get back to the original idea of what was supposed to be the Halloween franchise, and he made and they made Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I like this movie. I love Michael Myers. I love the whole, like Halloween franchise and the whole Michael Myers and, stalking Jamie Lee Curtis and, Danielle Harris and everything. Danielle Harris in Halloween 4, Halloween 4 and 5. But you know what? It's like, I really like this movie, and there's a lot of people I know who like this movie. I like it as kind of like a whole standout from the rest of the whole Michael Myers thing. And it's kind of like a horror sci-fi. It has some really, really, cool quotes and everything. And it stars Tom Atkins and Stacey Nelkin. And yes, and I always say, give this movie a chance. Ignore the fact that it's supposed to be part of the Halloween franchise. Ignore the fact that, it doesn't have Michael Myers in it or anything like that. Just ignore that and watch it for what it is, which is a good horror sci-fi film. And so that is one I do recommend checking out for your Halloween season. And of course, along with the rest of the Halloween franchise. So that's another one. And finally, last but not least, here is another independent author, Josh Foyles. I hope I said that correctly. It's a book called Sliver, and I'm going to once again I'm going to be doing a review for this. I did a review for this. I just have to post it. I don't want to give away too much. Obviously, I don't like to give away too much in terms of like books and films and all that stuff, because of obviously I want, even haunted attractions, because obviously I want people to go check it out for themselves. But this is, and you'll see my review. This is a book that, it's definitely different. It's, different from, a lot of, I don't know if I would even necessarily, call it like, horror. I'd say it's more like kind of like dark drama, sort of thing. But yes, but it's a pretty cool read. And I'll get into more detail with my review. It's basically it tells the story of like a businessman who's just kind of like going through life, doing the motions. His marriage is has become kind of lackluster, and he and one of his best friends who he works with, they come across this homeless man and have this really kind of almost like a weird experience with this homeless man, and then the next day the business partner is he's dead. He gets the phone call, and it's and there's a lot that happens in this book. I'll be going into more detail with it in the review, and I obviously don't want to give away too many spoilers, but yes, check out Sliver. It is, once again, the author is Josh Voiles. Once again, I hope I'm saying that correctly. But yes, that's another thing to check out. It's kind of like, I would say, horror, dark drama, that sort of angle. So, yes, so check that out. It's definitely a different read. And to finish off my my special Halloween vidcast, as you know, as I mentioned earlier, I recommended the Scary Stories trilogy in a previous vidcast, and I am going to read you a little story. It's a short story, so you won't be sitting here for hours, but it's called The Bride. And here goes. The minister's daughter had just gotten married. After the wedding ceremony, there was a great feast with music and dancing and contests and games, even old children's games. When they got to playing hide and seek, the bride decided to hide in her father's trunk up in the attic. They'll never find me there, she thought. As she was climbing into the trunk, the lid came down and cracked her on the head, and she fell unconscious inside. The lid slammed shut and locked. No one will ever know how long she called for help or how hard she struggled to free herself from that tomb. Everyone in the village searched for her, and they looked almost everywhere, but no one thought of looking in the trunk. After a week, her brand new bridegroom and all the others gave her up for lost. Years later, a maid went up into the attic looking for something she needed. Maybe it's in the trunk, she thought. She opened it and screamed. There lay the missing bride in her wedding dress, but by then she was only a skeleton. So the moral of the story, my friends, is if you are getting married and at the reception somebody suggests a game of hide and seek and you happen to find a trunk in the attic or a storage room, a closet, a basement, don't hide there. Especially if they are going to give you up for lost after only a week. Just don't do that. Okay? So with that, have a wonderful, safe, and happy Halloween. And I will be talking to you again on a future vidcast, and I plan to get the audio version of my podcast of Entertainment's Underworld, webzine and podcast, in order within the next couple of months, hopefully by the new year. So, yes, so I will be talking to you all again. Have a safe and happy Halloween. All right. Love you guys. Bye.